The Chris Johnston Show.
Let's go!
Your number one destination for a behind-the-scenes look at the game of hockey.
Is this thing on?
Here's NHL insider Chris Johnston and host Julian McKenzie.
CJ, I did not expect to go to you as many times for construction news. It seems to be all everyone wants to know about when it comes to the rink in Milan for the upcoming Olympics in February. CJ, what's the latest?
I'm not going to lie. I'm getting chided out there from like people in the hockey world being like, do you even cover the NHL anymore? Like, what's all these construction stories? And I'm talking like random ass people that work for teams that are like, every time I see your byline, it's on a construction update. What's this all about? So
yeah, you're like Bob the Builder, except like in media.
It's just funny because you never know what people are going to notice. Right. But it's become a bit of a cottage industry over here since last Tuesday. Obviously, Michael Russo and I had the story initially on the exact dimensions of that rink in Milan, and it's really the biggest concern right now is the ice. Where we're at in this moment is for anyone just maybe listening to this for the first time who's not been knee deep in construction updates. The Milan Olympic tournament will have two arenas. One of them is constructed effectively as a temporary arena inside a convention center. That arena is done, or like the temporary build is done. They actually had an event this week with, some under 20 teams from European nations play games there, and everything went pretty well, it sounds like. But if you're curious about the NHL, only 6 games involving men's teams are scheduled there for the Olympics. Most of them are at another arena called the Santa Giulia Arena, southeast of Milan. It's not done. And there's not even the ice making materials and construction is not even completed at this point. So they haven't obviously made ice. And, that's where the concern is. As much as the dimensions obviously kind of created a buzz, I think everyone's moved past that. It's not ideal from the NHL's perspective, but who cares? In the end, it's 3 feet. It's the same for every team that plays. It is what it is. There's no changing that. There's no debate about it. There's no, everyone's moved past it. But whether or not they can finish a construction at the main arena for the men's event at the Olympics is still somewhat of a question. And, is the ice going to be good enough? I mean, that's the question. So, where we stand right now is the Olympics are 2 months away, and the rink that's going to host most of the biggest games, including the gold medals games for both the men's tournament and the women's tournament, 33 games in total for those events, is not finished. There's no ice in it. I was told this week there's a bunch of construction material on the floor where you would build the ice because they're not finished constructing the building yet.
And there's no plan B.
That's true. There is no plan B like that. Well, I don't know. I don't want to get too into, but like I've spent a lot of my days in the last, say 10 trying to like figure out what is the plan B. There definitely have been rumors out there. I think I've mentioned, one was that, obviously there's a pretty good pro league in Switzerland, which isn't too far from where Milan is. Maybe they would move the tournament to one of the rinks that Swiss teams play in. I've seen other people on X suggest maybe they just bring it to, an NHL building or somewhere in North America, Lake Placid. I've seen all kinds of suggestions. I've done as much digging on that as I think I can do. And literally everybody's like, yeah, no, those things aren't happening. Part of it is because the league, feels that I think this is going to get done. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, as much as we are focused on it, and I think with good reason, I think there's just an underlying belief that this is too important. I mean, this is, the hockey tournaments are marquee events at the Olympic Games in the winter, right? This is a huge thing for this entire movement. So like, I think that there's a belief that the organizing committee is going to find a way through. And then the second part of it is it would just be a lot to reschedule on a dime, right? Like it's easy enough for us to say, move this tournament to X arena, wherever it is, whatever city you think makes sense. I mean, it's like, how's the TV broadcast? Like, you just start thinking about the logistics of it. I don't think it's possible. So, long story short, it's Milan or bust. And, they're still, constructing the main rink there. NHL sent a lot of ice making experts, technicians over to assist with that. Bill Dilley said at the Board of Governors meeting this week that he's cautiously optimistic about it, but until you build ice and then test it, you don't know if you have a building that can hold the Olympics. I'm an optimistic guy. You know this, Julian. You're an optimistic fellow. This is the optimism pod. I do think we're going to be talking about the hockey at an Olympic tournament eventually, but because this is so late in the game and it's still a little bit up in the air, I mean, you can't ignore the story. I mean, there's still a possibility. It might be a less than 1% outcome though, but that things don't come together and they don't have an Olympic tournament. I mean, that's still a possibility. There's no way around that.
So I share your optimism. I choose to see this as this is just going to get done. However, I am very curious about the doomsday scenario that could happen if for whatever reason this doesn't get done, which leads to my next question. Let's just say the rink doesn't get done in time and the players are not going to the Olympics. The Tkachuk brothers are disappointed. Everyone's disappointed. Everyone's mad as hell. What do you do with that 2-week break where the players presumably would have been at that tournament? What do you do with that time?
It's a tough one because obviously all the arenas around the NHL are due to be dark for NHL games in that period. You know, we know a number of teams share buildings with NBA teams, or they play out of rinks where they have concerts on days when there isn't a hockey game being played, or whatever other thing is happening. So I don't think you could schedule that many games. I mean, maybe in this doomsday scenario, you can find a way to schedule some NHL games in that window, but I don't know how many it would be. And as I say, I don't think the league's working on that. If they're working on that as an alternative, any of these, then they're doing it very quietly because, typically you can't do these things in secret. And so I really think that the NHL is fully invested in the Olympic tournament. They're nervous, because of some of the uncertainty that's happening, and they don't know what's going to go on, and they don't have a lot of control. And, control is a central issue here when we're talking about this subject. I mean, the real story about the rink dimensions isn't really about the rink dimensions. It's about how does that happen? And, it's really about this. It just shows that the NHL doesn't control as much of the tournament as it would prefer to. So, the doomsday scenario, I would think is just going to be a lot of days without hockey. Quite honestly, I think it's 19 days in February that are blocked off for this tournament. I don't know what you do with those days, but we're not there yet. The questions are completely fair, but I don't think we're in a spot where we have to really worry about that as a real possible outcome.
CJ, you know what they should do during that 2-week time? They should take all the NHL players, all the teams who are playing, find one arena that's somehow free for those 2 weeks, and then put them in an enclosed area and have them play games for a couple of days. I'm not sure what the right word for this is. Like a bubble, maybe?
No.
The NHL's never done that before, right?
Don't
that
use that language. That's taking me back to a place I don't want to go to.
I'm sorry. Sorry. It's a very bad joke. It's a terrible joke.
But do you know what?
Yeah.
I will say that experience, one thing the NHL was doing back in that COVID time is they were playing 2 and 3 games a day, right? And that's part of the issue with the Olympics, potentially with the ice, is that, in a typical season, that's not happening. The teams do morning skate. There's a period of time in the afternoon where the ice crew works on the ice. You play a game at 7 p.m. local, more or less. And then that's it. But what the NHL was able to do during that bubble time, which again, gives me the kind of get the shivers down my back thinking about that. But I literally did go to 3 playoff games a day for a period of time in Toronto. And then in Edmonton, I think it was always 2 a day when I was out there. But anyway, point is, yeah, they can do it. They could figure something out. But I really don't think it's going to come to that. I don't want to be too negative. It's a hard story to cover because I think it's worthy of discussion 100%. And then that discussion obviously ventures to the questions you just asked. And what happens? What's the doomsday? That's because that's the reason it's worthy of discussion. But then the flip side of it is I do think that it's pointing in a good direction here. But how could anyone say until they actually build ice in this arena? It's temporary ice making machinery too, Julian. In NHL buildings, it's like permanent pipes that are installed under basically in the floor that help make the ice. Well, this isn't going to be a permanent arena forever. And part of the issue with that in Italy is even sealing off the building fully so that humidity doesn't come in, which obviously affects ice making. it's harder to do when you're not putting a permanent thing in, because they have all these big, wires running in and out of the building. I mean, it's a bit of a strange thing to say, but like, there's a world that doesn't work right. But I still think they're going to figure it out, because, and I mean this with there's nothing behind this. The NHL has the best people in the world at making ice, right? They've made ice at Wrigley Field and at Air Force Base in Colorado and everywhere in between, Dodger Stadium. They're going to have outdoor games in Florida this year in the NHL. I just believe they've learned enough and they have experience enough in making it work. But the fact the building isn't done it's still like a little bit. Every once in a while, like I kind of wake up and I'm like, is this a real thing? Like we're literally 2 months from the day right now of the start of the men's tournament, and there's no ice in the arena that they're going to play in. Like it's not ideal. Like there's no way around it. I actually listened to an IOC press conference they had on Wednesday, and like it was like an alternate reality where they were just talking about this like it was totally normal, and this is how it's like, what are you guys, like, you're going to have 14,000 people in this rink and you're going to play 3 games a day. Like, are you sure you're ready? Like, do the toilets flush? Are the doors bolted on? Does the Zamboni have enough room to drive out onto the ice? Because we know that was an issue in Turin. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of questions still.
But again, I want to be optimistic. I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm very curious to know how this will go down.
Can I tell you a story?
Yes, please. Of course.
So I was down at the Board of Governors meeting this week in Colorado Springs, which is where the NHL owners and senior people with each team are. Some NHL owners, well, one specifically, but he also said he knew of another, told me that he might not go to the Olympics now based on what he's heard. Like based on the update, they're like, I'm not sure I even want to just be bothering with any of this. And I don't say that to be alarmist, but it's a conversation that's happening, right? Like NHL owners do get ticket packages, and they have obviously the ability as guests to go over and watch the games. And, and I imagine a whole bunch of them are still going, but there are some out there that are like, you know what? I don't know if I want to, this just sounds like too problematic, too not ideal. Maybe, and obviously these people that are owning sports teams in North America are the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. They can do a lot of other things with their time, and they can see those games in other ways. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, another person, frankly, who's pretty high up in the league told me that they felt that this has actually cast a pall over this season, a season that the league feels pretty good about. But like, this is being viewed very critically and seriously from the NHL side of things anyway. But then I listened to this IOC press conferences, like everyone had, was like lollipops and rainbows, and it's all fine. The ice will go in just before this test event. Like it's like
you're not impressed by this press conference.
No, because like you need ice to play hockey.
Yes.
Like it's the fundamental thing. It's the most important thing. And frankly, Bill Daly said too to the media, basically what would call off this tournament. Well, if the ice isn't safe, like if they, for whatever reason, have doubts about the ice, like we can all take for granted because there's games played every night in North America. I mean, there's 32 arenas that like literally with permanent ice making machinery and dedicated staff. And like, they do this for a living. You have an arena that currently doesn't have ice in it. Anyway, I'm going in circles.
If they somehow get it done in time, would there even be enough time to test the ice to make sure that it's safe to play on?
Well, that's critical. They have a test event January 9th to 11th. So that actually is critical because you do need to see how it holds up under those circumstances. Even just getting like people in the stands and the heat goes up in the building and whatever. I'm certainly not myself an expert in ice making, but I do know enough to know that you have to do it well to have a world-class hockey tournament, which is what they're trying to do at this event.
Very fair. All this brings me back to a previous episode where you discussed the fact that if you're the NHL and you're seeing this happening at an Olympic event, this might embolden you to ensure that your own event, a World Cup, ends up being the thing. Like, and just hearing this again, I'm thinking, oh man, what if we end up down that path where maybe they don't rush to put their players in the Olympics again, and it's just, hey, how do we find a way to make the World Cup of hockey the big event?
That's definitely the long-term goal, but it's going to take a long term, right? Like you can't judge it based on one tournament. I think, the World Cup of soccer has become the World Cup of soccer because you've got all this history over generations and those types of things. I mean, you kind of need that. You need continuity is what you need. The hockey's never had continuity. Like you can look back, like off the top of my head, they played a 72 Summit Series. Then they played in 76, which is 4 years later. Then there's a Canada Cup, I believe, in 81. That's 5 years later. Then they played in 84 and 87, which were 3-year gaps. Then they played in 91, and then it was 96, which is a 5-year gap. Like, my point is this. It's never been on a predictable
schedule. There's only been like 3 World Cups I could think of. What, the one in 96, the one in 04, and then the one in 2016.
Yes, exactly. And like, and the Canada Cups are sort of a branch of that. But the point is they've never got this organized. I know for sure, though, the league, it's a huge priority now. I mean, I think that they recognize, and it's not to say this is all just on the IOC or all just on the IIHF or the organizing committee in Milan. Like there's a lot of big organizations that go into putting on a tournament like this. But I think ideally the NHL, which controls most of the players that would play in a World Cup, like I some out there I know, there's at least 100% of this episode I know is punching air right now as he walks his dog. A friend of mine who lives overseas, that I'm even suggesting this, but I do think the long-term path is for the NHL and the NHL Players Association to make their own tournament and control the conditions and play it in the cities they want to play it in, and largely be using facilities, obviously, that are known to them. But we don't, that doesn't exist now. And I will say also 2030, they are going to the Olympics. It's in the CBA.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I guess maybe there's a world if something goes terribly off the rails in 2026 that 2030 gets scrapped, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think that at least in the short term, you're going to see both tournaments, but maybe long term, the play is for the NHL or some version of that to just be organizing the best hockey tournament in the world rather than leaving it up to other people who are worried about speed skating ovals and downhill ski tracks and half pipes and all the, they're putting on a lot of events at Milan Cortina. I'm not that interested in most of the other ones, frankly. It's not my area of expertise. It's not what I'm going to watch, but I have to admit that they matter, right? It's an important part of the Olympic. Like, maybe it makes sense to have the hockey people organize the hockey tournament.
Is there a second event, and you can't say the women's hockey tournament, that would intrigue you the most at not just these winter games, but any other winter games?
Well, the Super Bowl is going to be played in February.
I said the Olympics. I didn't say any other sporting event in February. I meant the Olympics.
Well, the truth is this. No, the answer is really no. Like I can't give you one other, but I'm going to be home. I'm not going to these Olympics as we've talked about.
Yes.
Going to be,
in all fairness to you, there's something happening to you projected in February that you will be way more preoccupied with than anything else.
But I was going to say,
you that.
I will watch on TV though, and I will get drawn into other events, whether it's a skeleton event or a luge event or, freestyle skiing. To be fair, that's what makes the Olympics great, I think, is that there's lots of sports I don't have familiarity with that I can get gripped by because of a story, because of an athlete probably from Canada where I live, doing well and that capturing my attention. But no, sitting 2 months out, the only thing I'm really worried about is the men's and women's hockey tournament because I know people involved. It's, it's our job. Yeah. But I can't say there's anything beyond that I'm gripped by at this moment.
Very fair.
Other than the construction beat.
Yes. We've touched on everything. Is there anything else we need to drop from that before I get you to talk about what else was said at the Board of Governors meetings?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we've lost every listener at that point anyway. So.
No, there's no way we have.
I don't know. I'm getting so many chirps. Like even my one buddy's like, don't update me on the construction. Just tell me when the games are and I'll tune in that day. Like he's just like, I don't need to hear about everything in the meantime.
Curse you for actually doing your job.
Well, yeah, I don't even think he was chirping me. I think he's just like, that's his view. And I can understand that. Like most people, let's face it, we're talking about this because it matters to NHL players that are going to go over there and like live this. But most people are going to experience this tournament through their TV or their smartphone or whatever. So the point is most people don't actually care what the rink looks like. They just care that there's a rink for players to play the games because they want to watch the games. So I appreciate that point of view, and I'm getting chirped a ton. And so I think devoting this much time to it, it's probably death for this podcast episode. But
Okay, let's move on to the Board of Governors meetings in
Oh,
Colorado.
now it's even more death. That's certain death.
No, but we don't have to spend 20 minutes on that. Just run through. Give us the Coles notes, the Sparks notes, if you will.
The Olympics was the biggest talking point. So, I mean, the good news is most of that's been covered. A number of other sort of general update topics, everything from projected revenues, which, the Coles notes or Cliff Notes, if you're down in the US, version of is basically where they've set the salary cap targets appear to still be on track. So we're at 95.5 million right now for this season, still scheduled to go to 104 million based on where the revenues are at the league through this point in the season. Some updates on, future rights deals that are coming down the pipe. You're not too far off the US rights deal happening. A big presentation on gambling, and just sort of what is and isn't allowed. I mean, the obvious, you can't bet on hockey if you're working in hockey, but there's a lot of subtlety in there and things that can happen and what the league does to try to not have some of the situations you've seen, whether it's in Major League Baseball with pitchers, gaming things for prop bets or in the NBA. But yeah, it wasn't a particularly, it's always worth covering those meetings, but the Olympics for sure, Julian, that was the buzzy, that was what they talked about in the meeting. And then when you saw people in the bar at night, that's what they were still talking about. So that was what was kind of getting everyone going, at least this week.
When you weren't in any of those meetings, did you get to at least do anything fun while you were in Colorado?
The whole thing was fun. I got to say, it was beautiful. My one complaint as a runner is the altitude just destroyed me. Like it was, those were some tough runs. And we stayed at this huge sort of complex of a hotel. So basically sampled the different restaurants there, went to the cool part. They had a sports bar in there. It actually had a bowling alley in it. I didn't bowl. But the bowling alley was buzzing. Like every day we were in there.
Why didn't you bowl?
Because I was busy enough. But the cool thing is they had tons of TVs and they actually came around with an iPad and you could put on whatever sports event you want. So I saw all the games the last few nights, or like a good chunk of them, with my TSN colleagues. So it's, in the States, it can be hit and miss in terms of getting, the NHL game of your choice on the TV. But so I went down there, I hung out with hockey people. I watched hockey games. I did my job. I panted badly trying to run outside at, 2,000 meters elevation. And now I'm back home.
I just can't get past this whole thing of you being too big for bowling.
Oh, I haven't bowled in 20 years, man.
What's wrong with bowling?
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, I actually don't, I'm not, but I don't want to like wear someone else's shoes and, it was just easier. Okay. Imagine, let me reframe this for you. I was sitting,
hold up.
Look at, no, but if you look at your right hand, I was sitting over here at your right hand in a comfortable seat where they brought me a beer and I could watch the hockey games with my colleagues.
You just couldn't be bothered.
To go over to the left hand, I had to figure out how it worked, probably book a lane, wear someone else's shoes, pay a bunch of money and bowl and miss the hockey games. I didn't want to miss the hockey games.
Am I talking to George Costanza? What is this reasoning?
Well, it was a work assignment too. Like I wasn't. This wasn't as leisurely as you think. Like I was I was cramming in specific windows of enjoyment, and so bowling didn't happen. I would have loved to bowl with the TSN crew though. It would be I wonder if who would be the best? Darren Dreger, maybe Gino Retta. Ooh. We actually were chirping Gino pretty good. He was wearing these white dress shoes, and we're like, "Hey, bud, the bowling alley's back here." Like he looked like he was wearing bowling shoes even during the day.
He's wearing white loafers.
White loafers. They were Italian. He was insisting they were high end, and they kind of looked like bowling shoes or golf shoes.
Come on, Gino. What are you doing, dog? I don't even need a photo of them.
Gino is the king of these meetings. I got to tell you, people are stopping Gino everywhere. Like, if you grew up in Canada, you know that mustache from a mile away, even when he doesn't have the mustache.
That's so true. It's like an iconic piece of sports media history. Anyway, we'll move on from that. But good to know you had a good time in Colorado. I'd like to ask you about this weird hand pass wave. I don't know if endemic or pandemic is the right word for it, but it seems as if in these last few games in the last few days, some game at some point is affected by a hand pass that eventually leads to a negated goal. We kind of touched off on it on our last episode when we brought up the Columbus, Florida game in which Brad Marchand accidentally did a hand pass that was waved off. It looked like it probably shouldn't have been the case, but it was still called as such anyway. And then Chicago and New York on Wednesday night, another instance being brought up in that game. Like, is there like a crackdown on these? Is this by coincidence? What's going on? It's
weird and inexplainable, right? Because you also have the Tampa-Pittsburgh one in the last minute of the game in Tampa, which I know I mentioned in a previous episode. You had Edmonton-Buffalo. There was one in that game that came back against the Sabres on Tuesday. I don't know where this came from. Like, it's definitely in this moment. You've had 4 notable goals turned over in a 6-day window out of the blue. There was only one previous instance of a challenge on this prior to this 6-day window. And so what I can tell you is this: at the NHL level, they don't feel like anything needs to be done at this moment in time, just because they're not, you can't react to 2 or 3 or even 4 plays that happen in a 6-day window. Now, if it keeps going on, the GM's meetings in March are where, rule changes can happen. Maybe it gets to a point where there's some kind of change looked at here, but it's been bizarre. And then what's amplified it, quite honestly, too, is you've had coaches be pretty emotional too, right? Like, yeah, John Cooper was measured and lawyerly, as he is after the one in Tampa. Dean Evison was fiery and obtuse when it happened against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Lindy Ruff was pretty emotional. And his team came back and won that game in Edmonton. But I think coach. I think there definitely is a level of confusion out there at the NHL inside the hockey operations department. Though I think that they're pretty clear that you can't gain an advantage by a player gloving the puck to a teammate. Essentially, like that's what the rule is. The problem is sometimes the puck hits a player's glove, and we might argue that player is not trying to gain an advantage or trying to direct it in any, like, at somebody. They might be protecting themselves, or it might be almost just incidental sort of contact with the glove, what have you. It's what hockey is so funny. Like, it's such a strange game in that, like, why the hell out of nowhere do you get 4 of these in 6 days? Like, it actually makes no sense. It's not based on a change to the way teams play, or like it literally just these weird non-goals are just falling from the heavens right now. Coaches are losing their minds. People like you and I are writing stories about it. There's a lot of focus on it, right? But I at this point, I don't think there's anything actionable from a league standpoint in terms of changing the rules or allowing all hand passes. I mean, we might get there. If you remember, like, kicked in goals have kind of evolved in over time. Like, there used to be a time that, like, hit a player's skate was automatically no goal. Now it's more about, intentionally directing the puck in the net. Maybe there'll be some kind of tweak to make down the road, but that's definitely not being discussed right now.
Don't get me started on that redirection, because on Tuesday in the Ottawa Senators game against the New Jersey Devils, there was a goal called back after Drake Batherson redirected a puck off his skate that went off Jacob Markstrom and in the net. Like, I hate the fact that got called off. And I know people might hear this and be like, oh, you're being a homer. Like, Drake Batherson is, like, on the goal line, like, behind the net. Anyway, you know what? Let me stop myself, because goodness, I
like when you get a little emotional.
I hate.
Except when it's about ketchup, but as long as it's about hockey.
Wait, what do you got against ketchup?
No, remember, we're not going back to that.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
You got emotional about ketchup a few episodes ago.
I did get emotional about ketchup a few episodes ago.
I haven't forgotten.
I'm like, hot dogs. You see, a lot of times I'll say stuff and I'll just forget it, man. Because, like, true. I'm not here with the drama, man. Ketchup is great. I love ketchup. It's great.
You offended? I work for Big Ketchup, though, and I'm a little offended by that.
You work for Big, bro. If you work for Big Ketchup. If you work for Big Ketchup, my office is down the hall from yours. Don't worry about that. There was a time when my mom would look at me and be like, hey, ketchup is a 5th food group for me. Yeah. Don't get at me with ketchup.
There you go. Just mix it in on your hot dog every once in a while. I'm telling you.
I'm not doing that.
I know for you, you're going to feel like you're doing something, like, wrong, but it's so right. I'm not doing it. Ketchup, mustard, some onions.
I mean, I guess.
I could go for a hot dog right now.
Me too. Me too. At the game I was at yesterday, the same Sens Devils game, the way it works in Ottawa is they have, like, a plate of random little, like, food you could just grab at intermission. I got there late and there was just, like, one hot dog left. Ooh. And I was starving and I was just like, I was going to grab it, but the radio play-by-play guy for the Devils, Don LaGreca, was there. And I was like, you know what, man? You have the hot dog. You take it. I was just like, you know what? You're a visitor. You have this.
Wow.
Yeah, I had to do it. I was just like, you know what, man?
I bet Don reached for the ketchup after he took that hot dog off the grill.
I don't know what he did. I turned my back on that man and I just kept walking.
Sorry, I'm all over the place today.
It's okay. Anyway, we don't have to keep going in on the hand pass wave that has been going on. I think
it's a thing though. Like it is definitely a thing. Like it's one of those ones. Like I don't even know where the topic goes because I don't think anything's going to change. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and coaches are just like losing their minds. Like
the fact that they're mad as hell is something.
Yeah, because I think they're confused, right? And anyway, I mean, what a sport. It's like beautiful chaos in the NHL.
And that's why we love this sport so much. Can we do a very quick Leafs corner? The Leafs are 6-2-2 in their last 10 games. Are the Toronto Maple Leafs back?
I think they're back, yeah. Do you know what's funny? So I was coming home from Colorado on Wednesday night. A random stranger stops me in the airport. He's like, hey, are you Chris Johnston? I'm like, I am.
Oh, my God.
No, but this isn't the point of the story. I was like, I am. I said, who are you? He actually said, I'm a nobody. I'm like, nobody. You're somebody. He goes, William Nylander's on the third line. And like, he was really fired up about William Nylander being on the third line. I love living in a hockey city. Yeah, I do think the Leafs are back though. You can't ignore the fact goaltending has really, played a role in their bounce back, but they got healthy at forward. I think they found some continuity with those lines. You're not seeing them give up the kind of chances they had been. Now their blue line's still being tested, right? Kristanov,
yes,
was due for a test on Wednesday actually to see, if he needs surgery or if maybe he'll be back sooner than later. Brandon Carlo's still been out. Now Dakota Mermis got hurt. Morgan Riley missed a practice with illness. Like they're getting pretty. Henry Thrun was recalled this week, so they're down to like their 10th D at this point in time. But anyway, I do think the Leafs are back. It's certainly in the mix, and it seems legit to me now that not a perfect team, and they fall in that same category of a lot of teams are just like this absolute mush in the middle, and they're gonna because of the way they've started, they haven't put 8 points in the bank really. Like early in the season, they're gonna have to scratch and claw and find a way to keep climbing up. But yeah, I'm willing to say they're back. It feels like the chat's back a little bit. Steve Dangle's a little happier.
Yeah, that is true.
Well, I mean, look you beat good teams. Like all this is at the end of the day, it's all based on what happens. Like they have beat some good teams. They strung together some wins. They're not getting absolutely piled on in every game the way they were earlier in the season. They're still not a team that controls the shots though in most games or the attempts. They play a specific kind of style, which I think not everybody appreciates or loves. I mean, look at it. It's open to that interpretation, but they've still got high end players. And when they get goaltending, they're down to their number 3 guy right now, Dennis Hildeby. I was speaking though to someone in another organization today, in fact, and that person was saying that he thinks Hildeby's the real deal. Like that he's a goalie that the Leafs can count on down the road to be a regular everyday NHL type of player. And so they need him to be that in this here and now in December 2025. I think they're hoping in the nearish future that he's back with the Marlies, and that's not a today conversation, but I do know that Hildeby does have some sort of, I'll call them fans out there. And I don't mean fans, like people that admire his game that are way more smart about what's happening in the net. I mean, goaltending's voodoo to me, buddy. And so, I don't know how long they can keep it up. It's not good news, obviously, that Woll and Stolars are sidelined for the foreseeable future. But despite all that, credit where it's due. The Leafs have been taking care of business.
Before we get out of Leafs Corner, give me your thoughts. I don't know if you're going to go as wild as Steve Dangle did, apparently, but give me your thoughts on the Bobby McMann 1-game suspension for that high sticking penalty he took against Tampa.
I'm definitely not going to go wild. I mean, I think it's as simple as, you got to control your stick. You can't in any way that's seen as purposefully hit another player in the head with your stick, even if it isn't that aggressive, even if there's not a big injury. Like I understand why the league is looking to punish players who do that. I think where the frustration comes in, even from the Leafs end of things, is, Dakota Mermis gets hurt with that knee on knee penalty from Gonçalves, and there's no supplemental discipline there. The player did get a 5-minute kneeing major in the game, and so supplemental discipline sometimes isn't. The league doesn't believe it's needed in every case where the play's been dealt with on the ice. But I don't have a hot take. I think it's not a bad message. I think two things can be true at once. I don't think Bobby McMann was trying to really hurt anybody with that play. Like, obviously he was sort of engaged. I think if anything, like, he just sort of lost control of his stick a bit. I don't think he certainly wasn't swinging it like a baseball bat or something. But, that if players ever did that and it wasn't punished, we'd be in for some lawsuits. So I get why the league takes that kind of incident seriously.
Well, you say that, and right in front of me now, I'm watching. You remember when Jacob Trouba whacked Trent Frederick in the head and only got fined for it? I never liked that from Trouba, and the fact that he only got fined, and then you see the McMann instance only get itself a suspension, doesn't add up for me. Well, and I know it doesn't add up for a lot of people.
I think we could do every episode of this show. I think we'd say, hey, this isn't totally consistent, right? Like, these two plays, like, we can pick two plays. No. But I would then argue, if you think they got it wrong on Trouba Frederick, that wouldn't be a good justification to get it wrong on McMann. Like, I would say, okay, I agree with you. Like, probably should have been a suspension there, but doesn't mean they should ignore it when it happens somewhere else. I see all the conspiracies. I know what you're kind of dancing around here. You're a pro. You're not like leading me straight to the getting radioed here. No. But there's all these charts bounce around the internet. Like, I don't even know if they're true. Quite honestly, I haven't done the work myself, but that the Leafs are the most suspended team.
I wasn't even going to bring you down that road.
No, I know, but like, I feel like that's part of that's the subtext of the conversation that's happening. I don't actually see that as, I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy thinker to that level of play. I do think, there is some normal things. Like, when the Leafs play a game and an incident happens, there's more eyeballs on that than a lot of other teams. Not than every other team, but these become higher profile incidents because it didn't happen in a game between, say, Columbus and Anaheim that was played at 10:30 Eastern time at night. And less people saw and didn't maybe go bonkers on the internet. And so there's sort of more scrutiny on what happens sometimes if it's a game involving a team like the Leafs or the Canadiens or the Rangers or the Canucks, whatever, passionate hockey markets with a lot of followers. But I don't actually think George Parros is like, the list of teams that everyone thinks he's cheering against is long. Like, he played in Anaheim. He's trying to screw them. He lives in Nashville. Yeah. He's, I personally don't buy that. You can criticism is fair. You can say, hey, they either got this wrong or they missed this one or they overreacted here. That's fair. But I just don't see it through a prism of, one person at the league with power trying to screw a certain team. Sorry, Steve. I know I work for you here and I know you think that way, but I'm sorry.
Okay. So I'll take that one step back because I didn't necessarily want to go there, but I do appreciate the fact that, yes, you're right. There was an underlying subtext there. And I think it's fine to say that. I think I agree with you there. What I'm more concerned about as a more neutral observer is just consistency. And I do think you made a really good point in the sense that if the Department of Player Safety can get these other calls right, that will at least make me feel better knowing that, okay, they know that's wrong. And maybe that's them realizing that, hey, we probably should have been a lot better on the Jacob Trouba Frederick incident. And if there was any other similar incident. But I know if we end up back in a situation where something similar is done and that doesn't get suspended, we're going to be right back here in this conversation. The wheel of Department of Player Safety Justice will be brought out and spun at random once again, because that's how it feels sometimes.
Well, and especially when the games get bigger, right? When we get to playoffs, that's kind of self-evident. Maybe a small fact people don't realize, George Parros is going to be part of the discipline committee at the Olympics. So, when I think of Olympic hockey or international hockey, usually, it's a blend. I don't know if you know this, it's a blend of NHL officials and European based officials.
That makes sense.
So there's 6 referees from the NHL going to the Olympics, 6 from Europe, 7 linesmen. They actually had a camp all together in the summertime to get ready. Similarly, there's a discipline committee that George Peros is part of, but also people from international hockey. But where it gets really interesting is in those international events. Like we've all seen it. A hit that's totally legal in the NHL, and it's like a 3-game suspension at one of those tournaments. Like I'm just fascinated how that goes when we're talking about countries, and like even a 1-game suspension at the Olympics is hugely punitive. It's a 6-game tournament for the teams that win. So it's, there's not like every game has a huge amount of value. Anyway, I'm totally off balance here, but I don't know how you get discipline right. Honestly, I don't know. Their consistency doesn't exist. Like they're doing their best to enforce a consistent standard. I do think that, but I don't like it's a weird game, man. Like as we just were talking about the last little bit, like the last little segment, I'll call it. Like where did all these hand pass goals come from? Like we played like 300 or 400 games and none happened. And then like in 6-day window, it's just like every game there's a goal come off the board because of this. Like it's a weird sport.
It is a weird sport, but I know you agree with me when I say this. We are allowed to expect better from the people up top who are doling out these judgments.
Oh, yeah, and those on the ice, man. Like the officials can be fairly scrutinized as well.
Absolutely. And look, I get it. Like to be put in that spotlight, it's not easy to be an official. I'll even say for George Peros too, it's not easy to be in his position as well. Just as best as you can, give us some consistency on that. And I mean us as fans and viewers and all that. Like everybody deserves, and the players too, who deserve it more. Give everyone some consistency on that.
There's not been a lot of suspensions this season. There's the automatic one to Rantanen. Obviously, you had McMann. Yeah. Is there one other one beyond that? I think anyway, there haven't been a lot.
Jonathan Drouin. It's actually funny. Drouin. I think I got mentioned in the chat. Jonathan Drouin, and I forget who else was suspended, but like it's really down to those 3. Well, and now Bobby McMann.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not we haven't had a lot of controversy in that area yet, but
yeah,
there's still time.
There's still time. I'd like to ask you about 2 Atlantic Division teams, both who lost on Tuesday. And I'm curious to know from your vantage point, which of these 2 teams should be hovering their hand on the panic button more? Do you look at Montreal, where their goaltending has not been top tier, and it got to a point where they called up their top prospect, Jacob Fowler, from the AHL right after their loss on Tuesday? Or the Ottawa Senators, who have lost 5 of 6 and have not scored a goal at 5-on-5 in a week, and they have not been a winning club since Brady Tkachuk came back from injury?
I mean, I don't know if anyone needs to be smashing a panic button just yet because of how compressed the standings are, and both teams are a 3-game winning streak away from looking pretty, from where they are in the standings.
I'm with you there.
But maybe Montreal, I would say, just because, obviously they didn't want to bring up Fowler at this point in time. I think that the plan was to have him marinate a little bit more, and he's only been recalled because of circumstances, right? Samuel Montembeault's not getting the job done. Even Jakub Dobish not getting the job done to a degree that they can feel good about. And so, they're looking down the bench and say they need someone else to put between the pipes. But I don't want to, I'm really trying hard to not get too ahead of myself with any individual team, because I just think, they could win 2 games before we record the next episode and everything looks great. And there's just a lot of volatility right now when it comes to teams in the standings. I get why there's pressure in those markets. I get why the conversation as it is, the questions the players being asked, all fair. Again, like it's fair to, all we have to go off are the, what you're seeing, right? And in both places, I think there's questions in Montreal beyond the goaltending too. It's about the team's overall defensive play. Is the system holding up? That's a team that's expected to be back in the playoffs. I mean, this is where I guess the parallels are. But I'm not hitting panic buttons this early in December just because the standings are so compressed. And as I've already done my mea culpa already, but I did at one point get a little too negative on a TSN radio head about the Leafs, and I immediately regretted it. It wasn't because I just was like, I'm not accounting for the truth here. Like the truth of the season, this is the cold, dark, secret truth, is that no one is out of it, really. I mean, a couple teams at the bottom are probably out of it, and a couple teams at the top don't have to worry about the conversation we're having, but everybody else is kind of in the same mix where you need to be winning 3 out of 5 games to make the playoffs, basically, for a lot of teams. And I don't see any reason why Montreal or Ottawa can't play at that level, even though they haven't here of late.
Yeah, I'm with you on specifically with Ottawa. I'll start with them. I'm not ready to smash any panic button. I've seen some fans maybe feel that way. I don't like the fact that the Ottawa Senators haven't scored a goal at 5-on-5 in a week. But if they take 2 out of 3 on their upcoming road trip, we're talking about a team that's climbing back up in the standings.
I am worried about the goaltending, but you know that I've expressed that concern.
Yes, but even then, the goaltending I still think has gotten a little bit better. I would say that if you've watched the games closely in the last 2 weeks or so,
which I have not, let the record show.
I would not say that goaltending, excuse me, I don't think goaltending is as much to blame for their run of play compared to what it was like for them at the beginning of the season. I think there has genuinely been at least a slight uptick in performance from Ullmark and Meriläinen. I think it needs to be better going forward, but it is not the reason why they're in the situation that they're in. It's very tough to blame a guy like Linus Ullmark or Levi Meriläinen when you have a game like what they had on Saturday where you have 7 power play opportunities and you only score 1 of them, right? Like, there's other things you can point out with the Ottawa Senators. And I think for anyone who's wondering on when they'll make a move or anything like that, like, I think the fact that a lot of teams are still in it, that does not help their situation with them trying to make a move right now. Not saying they're desperate to make a move right now, but for people who are antsy for that, that's something that should be kept in mind, I think. Well,
there's some thought within the organization it would be nice to get someone higher in the lineup, like another forward. I don't get the sense that's how management views it, right? Like the people that actually have to make that call, it doesn't feel like they're on that same wavelength.
That's interesting because I really think they should get a forward.
Well, I mean, sorry, like I guess everybody in theory should always want one, but I just don't. Yeah. I don't think I don't get the feeling that's coming for them, at least at this point in time. I don't think that they're shopping in that pool. I don't think that they're, I don't know that the big difference makers walking through the door. Like, I think they have to figure it out themselves. Obviously, I do expect some level of trade activity as we get deeper into the season, but there's like been this like weird thing hanging around that they're going to like swing for the fences. I'm not so sure that's the case.
I don't know if they have the assets to swing for the fences is anything. And I also wonder too, like, how much of that talk is legit and how much of that talk is them trying to just, hey, don't blow our cover, man. Like, we're trying to hang out in these weeds. Like, how much of that is them just trying to lay low? I don't know.
I think it's a managing expectations thing too. It's hard to make those trades. At the end of the day, like, look at it. No one's done that. We can't say there's one trade that's happened that's anyone swung for the fences this year.
That's very fair.
Even a lot of the deadline deals last year, I can't say that. Like even Florida getting Brad Marchand, which obviously with the benefit of hindsight was a great trade. I'm not sure that at the time I would have called that a swinging for the fences trade. I would definitely say the Hurricanes getting Rantanen in January was a swing for the fences because it was a big deal. It involved a lot of assets. There's a lot of sort of perceived risk in the sense that you didn't know if he was going to stay there. You didn't know if it was going to work. It didn't even work out, at least in the sense of him being a great Carolina Hurricane. But like that was a swing for the fences deal. I think to some degree, the Cousins-Norris deal was a swing for the fences deal. Mm-hmm. In that, that can blow up. That can either be like wildly successful for one of those teams or blow up in your face. And we're not there yet for saying who is which side of that one. Norris hasn't been very healthy, obviously, but yeah, I don't know that we should expect that. I think the Senators need to figure it out with the players they have and then augment that group versus something major coming through the door.
So then should the Montreal Canadiens be that group to?
Well, they want to.
Yes.
I'm confident that they want to. Whether they're going to be able to is it's almost a different calculation, but they would like to add down the middle.
Yes, that's been pretty clear for a while. Yes.
They don't want a 6-7. They want an 8-7.
Oh. Oh, that's good. That's really good. That's very good.
I'm not sure it landed, but what I'm saying.
No, I understood that joke. Oh, okay. All right. I think with that, we can get to stick taps. Do you have a stick tap for this week, sir? As we get out of here and I laugh about your 6-7-8-7 joke.
I got to say, I love the 6-7 energy.
You like the 6-7 energy?
I do. I love it.
You like doing this?
I'm not participating, but I'm seeing the world participate, the young people, and I love it. I think it's cool. I was at a Santa Claus parade and like kids are just yelling 6-7 off floats for no reason that I could understand, but it was amazing. They were all excited. So I'm going to stick tap the 6-7, man.
Is it?
That was unplanned, but I mean, this show led me there. I love it. I think it's great.
I forget which Ball brothers started this because I think was it Jello? No, not Jello. It's the younger one. I think who started this. He was answering a question and he just said 6-7 and did the hand motion that I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And now it has turned into a worldwide sensation. Like,
yeah. And now that people my age have figured it out, I'm sure kids are already moving on from it because they're like, this is played out by this point. But I still think it's great.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's kind of weird just facing the fact that I'm in my 30s now. I don't know if I consider myself that young anymore.
I'm dragging you into old age. Like we're just going to do those pods over so many years. Eventually you're going to be one of us. You're going to be out of touch.
But like, yeah, I'm scared of that, man. I'm scared of being out of touch, man. I mean, I like
lean into being out of touch. Being in touch is overrated. Seriously. Like,
I don't know, man.
Just be yourself. Don't worry about what the trends are. Don't worry about what's going on.
I don't want to like be on every trend, but like it is in me to like know what's what. Like I get an idea of what's going on. That's part of who I am. And I think I'm pretty comfortable with who I am. Like the 6-7 thing, I understand I'm not the exact target audience for that, but like I'm not gonna tell kids don't have fun. I'm okay with that.
I just stick tapped it. I'm the old guy here and I love it. So I think it's great.
No. I'm not dumping you on that. Like I agree with you. Like it's cool. Do you think?
It's awesome. It's just awesome to me that it like spread around the world. And I'm like at a Santa Claus parade in Coburg and there's just kids just yelling like 6-7, like on a Santa Claus parade float. I'm like, I don't even know what this means, but this is amazing.
I was, when I was on the road a couple of days ago, I was chatting with a colleague of mine and a former NHL player I won't name, and they casually used 6-7 in conversation. And I was just like, did you know about it? Like sometimes I don't expect about it. Everyone knows about it, but just like, he was like, yeah, like my kids say it at the dinner table. And just like seeing this person like make that, I was like, wow, you're a Hall of Famer and you know what this is. Like I was mesmerized.
Max Pacioretty was the coolest of them all, man. He was rocking the 6-7 digits before kids were even talking about 6-7. So
oh man, I'm just gonna leave that number 6-7 thing at Max Pacioretty because there's a very obvious joke you can make there, but I don't think most of our audience would appreciate that. I am going to stick tap the 4 teams who scored game tying goals on Tuesday to bring it to overtime. Really exciting action to watch on an AHL night. Not to say all those teams that tied it won in overtime.
Buzzer beater city though.
I do love a good buzzer beater. I love a buzzer beater in the NHL. I love it in the NBA. I love it in March Madness. I love a buzzer beater. So the fact that we got 4 of them on one given night in the NHL, I wish we were talking more about that as opposed to hand passes being called in the last how many days.
I like hand pass though. I like seeing the coaches get fiery and everyone be confused and
like, I don't know, man. You know what? As long as you get it right. If that's what the rule is, just get it damn right.
I think you're getting it right. I think, honestly, the question, and we'll just move on from here because we're beating this around, but the question is, should they change it? But as the rule is currently written and understood, I think they're actually getting it right. Yeah. Probably the next conversation that should happen with the people that can make those decisions is, should we change the rule? Like, are we sure we want this to be the rule? But yeah, that's kind of where it's at. I think it's being enforced properly, but maybe we're like, hey, wait a minute. When a guy's blocking a puck that's going to hit him and then his teammate scores, was that really gaining an advantage or not?
I don't know. Maybe they should have you in the Department of Player Safety.
Oh, man, I got enough problems. I'm good where I am.
Well, I tried, CJ. Anyway, thank you all, everyone, thank you everyone for paying attention to this episode. Thank you so much for subscribing. And we will be back early next week with a brand new episode of the CJ Show. Get your questions in now. At some point, we are going to do like a Christmas time mailbag. So get your questions in for that, because there will be an episode over the holidays where we're going to open up the mailbag and we're going to take in like any question. It could be about the 6-7 trend. It could be about parenting. It could be about the Leafs. It could be about whatever NHL team you support. CJ, we will try to get you to answer anything and everything from that mailbag.
2 cool things we didn't mention. 1, the Avalanche and the Canadiens are going to play a game in January with the Nordiques and Habs jerseys, blue-red.
I can't wait.
Blue-red, that's cool.
I love blue versus red. That's going to be an amazing game.
The second one is we now have called down our list of 100%ers to 2 people, because there's no way anybody got to the end of this episode. I know Coburg Papa is still with us because he is the definition of a 100%er. And then one other random person who might have fallen asleep like during the episode, and it's going to play to completion and they can still be 100%er. But nobody else hung with us this long. There's no chance.
I think you're not giving the 100%ers enough credit, CJ. They're a strong and faithful army for the Chris Johnston Show. And as we climb to episode 400, they will stick with us through thick and thin.
The Chris Johnston Show. Follow Chris on Twitter @ReporterChris and follow Julian @JKA McKenzie.
The Chris Johnston Show.